My name is John Meehan. I bought in some German daggers and some bayonets. They belong to a friend of mine in the Royal Canadian Legion, and he asked me if I would bring them in. From what he told me, very close by was a militaria type of shop, and he decided he'd like to try and buy some bayonets and daggers and get a collection, and that's how he did it.
Throughout the 1600s and into the 20th century, the bayonet was the primary weapon of infantry attacks among European armies. In terms of optics, the bayonet charge was an aggressive event, but its impact rarely resulted in anything more than a retreat. The bayonet evolved through the years, but its modifications could not outpace modern warfare technology. In 1914, rapid-fire weapons took precedence over those of close combat, which, in the already trauma-inducing environment of World War I, began feeling unnecessarily personal. Once an infantry's choice offensive weapon, today bayonets are commonly issued as utility tools and are considered a soldier's last resort.
John, welcome to Militaria, and I wonder if you could take a moment and tell us what you brought in today.
Yes, thank you. These bayonets and daggers belong to a friend of mine who belongs to the Royal Canadian Legion. He was a veteran of the Royal Air Force in the 1950s, and he decided after he retired that he'd try to collect some daggers and bayonets.
What you brought in today is that you have an SA dagger, or you have a German army officer's dagger, and then you have two dress bayonets. And the reason that we know that they're dress bayonets because they've been chromed and they're all shiny. So the difference between chroming and bluing is the purpose of it. So chroming makes something shiny. Bluing is what's used on metal that's exposed to the elements, and is to protect them from getting rusty. That's the difference. You're not going to take something that's chromed into the field. It's not made to go in the field. So John, each branch of the German military developed their own dress bayonet, dress daggers, and the daggers especially were just there for show. In the SA and the SS, everyone wore them. We know that this is an SA dagger because this is the same shape as an SS dagger, which is an SA dagger because, first of all, it's brown. The SS ones were black. We have the German eagle and swastika there, and then we have up here stylized SA. On the blade, we have Alles für Deutschland, which is everything for Germany, and on the back of it, we have the manufacturer, and it has what's known as an RZM number, and that was the way that the government controlled who made what for them, and that showed that it was a government-approved manufacturer.
Could I ask,
Sure.
When you say SS and SA, what does SA stand for?
SA is basically stormtroopers.
Okay.
Right? And they were the thugs of the Nazi Party. So the SA and the SS were totally different entities. The SA were there to bash heads, and they were there to cause disruptions during peaceful protests by other political parties. There's no nice way of putting it. They were thugs, and they were goons, and they were bullies, and that was their job. The SS, on the other hand, was the secret police. There was also the Waffen SS, which was the elite of the army. They were considered the best of the army, and if you were serious about being a soldier, you wanted to be the best of the best.
I never knew there was a difference between the SS and the SA. And that bit of information I think was very informative.
We then have an army dagger, and we know that this is an army dagger because of the design. So again, we've got the blade here, and there's nothing on the blade except for the manufacturer. It appears to be an acorn squirrel on there. This is an army crossguard, and there's two types of grips. There's white, and then this one, which is actually orange. The army officer would be required to buy this. Sometimes you'll see the blade will be all engraved with nice fancy work and all that. Again, if you wanted a deluxe blade, that you would pay for that out of your own pocket. We then come to these two dress bayonets, and although they're the same purpose, they are slightly different. So this dress bayonet is almost the same as a normal bayonet in that it's functional. So we've got the little button there that you press to release it from your rifle. You've got the slot for the rifle to go into, so it would attach to a rifle. This one here is different in that, as you can see, there's no slot there. So this was never ever meant to go onto a rifle. This is strictly on parade, and the Germans were all about show. It was all about pageantry. You see the newsreels, the big rallies are all dressed to the nines. They've got all the flags. And so you can imagine everyone's got these nice shiny bayonets and neat daggers. It was all about the show and the pageantry.
My time today with Gary was very informative. I learned a bit more about the German daggers and bayonets that I brought in from my friend Philip Clark. He will be very pleased to hear about the history of them.
We've referred to your friend a few times. I was wondering, can you tell us anything more about him?
He belongs to our Royal Canadian Legion in Gates Brook. He's nearer the age of 90 than 80. He came to Canada from Ireland. He did 4.5 years in the Royal Air Force from 54 to 58. During that time, he served in 2.5 years in Germany. He thought in his mind he would start this collection. He doesn't really know why, but he was interested to try and find out some things about the daggers and the bayonets.
So John, thank you so much for bringing these wonderful artifacts into Militaria today. Do you have any idea what your friend's plans for these are? Do you know if he's got family you'll be passing them down to? Or?
All I know of is he has a daughter. I don't know what he intends to do with them. I will ask him when he gets back from his vacation. I'll get your card and get back to you on it.
Yeah, it would be good because
Yep.
it's not that the museum is out trying to poach items,
Yep.
but in situations like that, like you say, his wife really doesn't want them in the house anymore, and if
Yep.
she survives him, I've heard many stories of things
Yeah.
into the dustbin, and I would hate for that to happen. Thank you so much for bringing them in. It's been wonderful looking at them.
You're most welcome, and thank you for the information.
The reason we have museums is not just to tell easy stories, but to tell hard stories. And that material is part of the hard story, and it needs to be told. I don't believe the swastika has a place in modern society. I think it's important that it stays in history. Not that we showcase it, but we don't deny that it's there.